Hi there folks, my name's Nova24 and welcome to a special preview of an upcoming release for Microsoft Flight Simulator of a fantastic new aircraft from a new developer, Skyward Simulations. And of course I am talking about this beautiful aircraft in front of us, the Diamond DA50RG. So the Diamond aircraft are a fascinating brand of aircraft and a brand of aircraft that I have definitely come to love the more I see them in flight simulators, and this aircraft is looking pretty damn cool at first pass. Now, before we get too far into this, I do want to say a huge shout out and a huge thank you to the team over at Skyward Simulations and over at Orbix for providing me with the preview copy of this. And I do want to stress that this is a pre-release look at this upcoming aircraft, which should be released a few days after this video goes live. But I've been told that this is the release candidate, so this should be very close to what you are going to be able to pick up and experience for yourself upon release. Now, what is the Diamond DA50? Because many of us here, and especially in the world of Microsoft Flight Simulator, are very, very familiar with a couple of Diamond products, given the fact that several Diamond aircraft form part of the base aircraft that come with both the default sim and with the various different editions of Microsoft Flight Simulator. So the DA50RG is, funnily enough, it gets its RG from the fact that it has retractable landing gear. So, you know, shock horror, I know. Very much following on from Cessna's naming convention in that regard. But what makes this interesting is that this one sits sort of in between the Diamond DA40-60 series and the DA20 series, and the fact that it is a single-engined aircraft, but it's still designed to be more of a spacious interior, with offering 5 seats in excellent comfort, and designing for that sort of touring, economical touring market, sort of previously sort of held by the larger Diamonds, but in a more economical format with the single engine. But that's enough about the aircraft in general. So let's have a look here. So we've just been having a look around the outside of the aircraft. The team at Skyward Simulations have given us a beautiful model of the Diamond DA50, and the Diamond aircraft always just cut a very sleek line, and they've really captured this model really, really well. There's a lot of detail in the aircraft. You know, for the rivet counters there are plenty of rivets for you to go and count, so you can go and do that. They've modeled all the leading edge elements of the de-icing system as well, and that also is part of the custom coding of this aircraft as well. They've got custom coding for the de-icing system. The textures work on the outside of the aircraft, from what I can see, looks pretty good as well. Nice sort of metallic and sort of, PBR effects applied throughout, and overall pretty good quality livery work and texture work has been applied here. You get a number of different liveries with this one, all the ones that are sort of factory sort of promo liveries. This one is probably the most striking one, and the one that I've chosen to fly today, and overall looking pretty good. Probably my only little bit of a bugbear here that I've got with this one is the fact that the registrations are fixed. So the registrations of the aircraft and all the liveries are fixed to whatever their real-world counterparts are, which on one level I get is fine, but on another level I've become very used to the sort of default aircraft where I like to be able to set my own registration. But that doesn't really, that doesn't really affect the quality of the model. Just a minor little thing that I noticed, but otherwise the actual external work is really good. We've got a beautiful work on the raised walkway sort of to get into the cockpit, and overall looking pretty good. The details of they've captured with the undercarriage and the landing gear as well, is they've captured that really, really well, and I know that can be quite a challenge to do. So again, the team have done a really good job with that. So overall, looking pretty good. From what I can tell, comparing this to the real-world aircraft, it looks pretty much spot on. And from what I've been told, that it actually has been done with access to plans, so they've actually should have a good model here. All right, well, that's enough of having a look at the outside. Let's jump into the office and have a look at the spacious interior of this aircraft. So here we are in the office of the DA50RG, and one of the things that I really like about Diamond aircraft in general is the fact that they very much copy an idea, or maybe it's not a copy, but they use a similar philosophy that Airbus do and Embraer do, which is that they have a very much common cockpit layout. So if you've flown one Diamond aircraft in some ways, you've kind of flown them all. So the modeling of this aircraft has been done with dual Garmin G1000 and XI units. These do make use of the working title avionics. So for those who are wondering, so you do have all the goodies that you are used to with working title system. So this has been modeled accurately, again referencing our real world photos that I can compare this to. It looks like it is very accurately modeled to the baseline of the DA50RG variants that are available. With, as I said, both G1000 units modeled, all the various things and switches and whatever done. And for those who are wondering, there is an obsession in the flight sim community about fuses, things working. No, your fuses do not work in this aircraft. So I'm not particularly sure why. There are some elements of our flight simulator family that are obsessed by fuses working and not working. But if you are one of those people that do want all your fuses to work, sorry, you will sadly be disappointed by this aircraft. But for me personally, I have no problem with that. But anyway, they're externally, they're just non-functional. Otherwise, as we look around the interior of the aircraft, you just said this is a 5-seater aircraft, so plenty of spacious room there, and you do have some cargo capacity in the back as well. Now, in terms of the animations, you obviously do have the open cockpit and passenger doors, and yes, the door for the, actually if I can just move my camera around for a second there, we'll have a look at it. I'll just move the camera back. You do have the working rear passenger door as well. So if you do want to virtually load your fellow aviators who are coming flying with you, yes, you can do that. And we'll just close that one in preparation for getting underway today. All right, so back into the office and back into the main seat of the office. As if the team have done a really good job, they've modeled everything really quite well. Texture quality overall pretty good. I feel that some of it might be a little flat, but overall not too bad. It's interesting because in some ways I feel that some of it is a little overweathered on the sort of like the inside here, and then it's a little underweathered elsewhere. But overall, I'm not going to complain too loudly. I've definitely seen far worse in both payware in payware, but yeah, it's still a great cockpit and a very inviting office to be able to take up residency in. This is something that I talked about before about the setting your own registration. So although the external registration doesn't reflect what you set, the internal one that displays your radio call sign here does reflect whatever you set in the sim. So again, it's not a huge thing, but it's just something that I notice. I notice little things like that. Now, one of the things that, of course, anybody who is a regular viewer of my channel will know that I'm a big proponent of the use of in-sim checklists. So let's have a look and see how the community integrated, has the developer integrated in-sim checklists. And yes, they have integrated in-sim checklists. So we are going to go through that. We are going to go through a cold and dark start here before we go through a bit of a flight here through Austria, of course, the home of Diamond Aviation, a Diamond aircraft. So let's start with closing and securing our doors. Nice audio sounds there. The audio sound set for this aircraft, by the way, is actually done by Boris Audio Works, which has, of course, done some great work in the flight simulation field, and it is a great sound set that I can simply say that. All right, so let's have a look at here now. One of the things here, so emergency fuel valve. Okay, now I want to check something. So although we do have a checklist here, it looks like that the oh, no, we do have it. Okay, so some of the items maybe do work and some do not. So minor thing, not a huge thing. So if you know where most of your controls are, and the Diamond layout is pretty clear, but not all of the items can be highlighted for your reference. Most, so it looks like some of them can, but not all of them. So let's just go through here. Emergency fuel valve. Let me just reset my camera quickly because that's going to annoy me otherwise. All right, here we go. Okay. All right, so oxygen supply, fuel valve set to off. Okay, so emergency fuel over here. So we've got emergency. So we are currently set to, so emergency fuel valve set to normal. So it's our fuel selector. Okay, that is checked. All right, elevator trim set to neutral. Just loaded in. That will check that once we fire up the avionics. All right, cowl flaps set to closed. So I need to close up. Come on. That click point is for the cowl flaps is rather painful to get to, which is interesting. All right. Because I can't actually. Okay. Throttle closed. Yeah, interesting. I can't actually get to the click point there, so that's a bit of a problem. So we're going to have to leave that one unchecked in our checklist there. Okay, power lever set to idle. Okay, we're going to remove that click, see if that helps us. No, it doesn't. Right. So minor thing there, if you've got a keybind for it, I'm sure that we should be fine. But yeah, that is interesting. Ah, there we go. Okay. So it's just a click point there. So you just got to be able to get the right click point for it. All right, so go there. All right, parking brake is set. Good. Alternate air emergency gear set to off. Check. All right, gear selector check down. Good. Pitot heat check off. Check. Avionics master switch off. Electronic master switch off. Bus check off. Engine master set to off. Auxiliary fuel pumps also off. Fuel transfer set to off. As I said, like this is going through very familiar for anybody who started the Diamond, any of the Diamonds, the DA42, the DA62, or the DA20, you'll be very familiar with many of the controls and the layout of this cockpit. So prop DI set to off. Alternators check both on. Check. ECU swap set to automatic. Okay, yes. FedEx Auto. De-icing system set to off. Check. Okay, all lights set to off. Flaps check up. Position lever is set to up. Cross check with the wings set to up. Electric master set to on. We'll have our G1000s now come alive. All right, while they're coming alive, let's do check our controls. Full and correct travel. Check that is corresponding out there. Check on our rear. There we go. And rudder. Check. Alright, gear stall warning test. Now this is the one thing that I always... Here we go. Gear test. Check. Stall test complete. Okay, check function indicator. Set to takeoff. Okay. Check travel. Full flap. Move to takeoff position. Checked. Fuel quantity checked. Good. We're looking about 50% fuel. Right, there we go. Okay. On to our engine start. Let's check. We'll do our other second G1000 unit. There we go. We've got a nice cruisy flight through the Austrian Alps today. Will be our little adventure today. All right, so strobe lights ACL on, set to on. Start. Okay, engine master set to on. Glow indication, wait till off. Glow off. And start button. I like the fact that you actually have to hold it. It's one of those things where I know it's a small thing, but it's given the fact, I've come a long way in flight sims, and I remember when you just had to like click and forget, where in a real aircraft you do have to hold it until the aircraft catches. All Alright, starter annunciator is off. Check. Oil pressure is okay. Oil temp is good. Oil pressure is in the green. Bolts are good. Okay, RPMs at idle. Around 660. There we go. Plus or minus 20 RPM. We are good. Alright, after engine checklist check. Alright, so pitot stall heat test. Pitot heat on. We're gonna leave our pitot heat on for this one. For this flight here in the mountains, because it is a little bit chilly. Alright, avionics master now on. That gives us power to our radios. Alright, autopilot check. Okay. AP on. P off. Check. Check complete. Alright, now I'm not using FMS. I do have a GPS flight plan program, but I am not going to worry too much about it. But for those of you who are wanting to do and use your Garmin functionality, you do have it available. Now, one of the interesting options that the real-life aircraft does have that they haven't modeled here is the real-life aircraft does have an actual Garmin keypad set up for the G1000 unit as a optional extra. Not modeled in this version. I have no problem with that, but if you were expecting that to be modeled in this one, there's not. Maybe we'll see it added in as later on down the track. I don't know, but again, this is primarily here as a GA aircraft, so I'm not surprised that the team didn't choose to model it. And yeah, again, no problem to do that. Alright, so now we're on to our taxi checks. So we're going to do our taxi lights on, which I think should have been in that checklist, but who knows. Alright, ox fuel pumps is off. Okay, I think there was no check for the essential bus, not for normal operation. Okay, alright, okay, I was about to say essential bus is only there for abnormal operations, so we leave that in the off position. Alright, so we're going to do parking, brake, release. And brakes checked. Okay, there we go. Okay. Check our fuel valve, move it to emergency for the check. Still fuel flowing. Go good. And then back to normal. Alright, so checklists complete. Alright, let's taxi down to the runway now. Head off on our little adventure, and we'll see how she handles here. So we're actually here at an interesting little airport available in Austria. As I said, we are flying through Austria today. So this is Zelam Z from Gaia Simulations is the airport that we are starting from today. As I think it'll be a nice little trip through Austria to actually, considering it's an Austrian designed aircraft, then I thought it would be appropriate for us to do our test flight for this aircraft here in Austria. So very nimble with the nose wheel steering on this aircraft. I always like nose wheel steering aircraft. They just make life so much easier than tail draggers. I love the challenge of a tail dragger, but it is nice to be able to enjoy the accuracy and the ease of nose wheel steering aircraft. Steering feels pretty solid as well, like no real issues I've noticed on the steering. No sort of odd behavior on the brakes. If anything, in some ways, it's almost like the steering might even be a little bit too responsive. But having never flown in real life a Diamond aircraft, then I can't really comment to that too much. Alright, we'll stop here on our hold short point. Alright, so we've got our position lights on, our taxi lights are on. We're going to taxi out onto the runway. We've got no traffic to worry about. Let's actually bring up our checklists again. Do our before takeoff checklist. Alright, so our doors are secured and closed. Fuel valve set to normal. Cowl flaps need to be set to open. We remember we're going to get the right click point for that. There we go. It's a challenging little click point, that one. Alright, and do our check our trims. Right, looking good. Trim wheel set for takeoff. Okay. Power lever set to idle. Flaps checked. Fuel pumps off. Okay, we're going to do our FADEC test button. So I'm just going to put my parking brake on actually while I do this check. Okay, so FADEC test button, press and hold. Okay, and check to force B. So for the B channel for the FADEC system, and then back to auto. All right. We're going to set our fuel pump. Set our fuel pump. Fuel pump set to on for takeoff. All right. So we've done our pre-takeoff checklists here. There we go. All right. Now let's do our takeoff briefing here. So our normal takeoff here will be with cowl flaps open, which we have for check, and looking at the reference speeds programmed by default into our G1000 here, we've got a rotate speed of 68 knots and a climb out speed of 73 to 79 knots. Okay, we are looking good. All right, checklists are complete. Let's release our parking brake. Check that we've got no traffic. Taxi out onto the runway. The sound set for this aircraft really comes through, and definitely can be tell that it's not just a borrowed sound set from a default aircraft. Yeah, I definitely hear that this is a custom sound set for this one, and quite good from what I can tell so far. Taxi lights off, landing lights on, strobe light is on. Alright, time to depart. Throttling up. That single engine, we're used to twins in the Diamond. Most of the time I spend flying Diamonds is in twins, so I can tell that really sort of kicking in there with that. There's our rotate speed. Gear up. Flaps up. Very smooth takeoff this one. Very light, and that instant sort of feel of acceleration once you retracted the gear as well. I watched the speed actually change. So very much did some great work on the flight modeling there. Very zippy little aircraft for a Diamond. Now, what's interesting as well about the engine here as well is that it actually uses Jet A1. So being a single engine GA aircraft, it's not always common that they use Jet A1 for their fuel source. But the DA50RG is designed for ease of operation, ease of access of materials. So they went with Jet A1 as the fuel source as opposed to diesel, which is a common power plant for Diamond aircraft. Originally, the DA50 was designed with the concept of using a diesel engine, but they have reduced it. But so far, they've settled on a Continental engine using Jet A1 as the fuel source. Some rough bit of weather, there's a bit of winds coming off the edge of that mountain there, and these giant sail wings that the Diamond aircraft have. You definitely get rocked around a little bit with those wind conditions, those weather conditions. Oof, like that, just coming over the edge of the terrain there. But that's actually something that is known, that the Diamonds are known for. They are very stable, very reliable aircraft, but they can, because of their glider and motor glider history in much of their design of the Diamond aircraft, you do have that performance. Sometimes you do have that interaction with mountain ridges and weather and the winds rolling off ridges. So my first pass on that one is that it feels like they've actually done a really good job. In some ways, I actually think that it is definitely noticeably different from what we might expect or might be used to using the default aircraft. And I think that again shows that this is a custom flight model, and this is more in line with what I expect than the very sedate flying experience that I have with the DA20 that comes with the sim. So it's definitely a lot zippier than the DA20, that is absolutely for sure. Or as we climb out here, we will just enjoy that sound set for a moment. And definitely, yeah, I think they've definitely captured the sounds of that engine really, really well. So the team of Boris Audio Works have done a great job once again. And once we're sort of clear of that turbulent air down in the valley there, you do get that sort of sedate flying experience of the Diamonds are known for. But I do like the fact that it does capture that more when you're flying through turbulent air. This giant, glider-like wings here really do. You feel that, and you feel the effects of that. But once you get into some clear and some stable air, you get this beautiful, docile flying experience. So yeah, first pass at the flight model, definitely going to be nothing to snuff at. And I think this is a great little relaxing little tourer for you to go on some adventures with. The engine, with the choice of the engine, is very, very economical. In fact, it's the most economical in Diamond's range of larger aircraft. Because the DA20 is probably a bit more economical because it's smaller. But in terms of range, it offers half the range of its bigger twin-engined cousins of the DA42, DA62. But its fuel capacity is lower, and its fuel burn is significantly lower. So its fuel efficiency is significantly better than its twin-engine cousins. And you sort of got that nice, so you have that nice subtle there. You hit a bit of turbulence, you get that wing wobble as you ride out the turbulence, but it's very easy just to gently hold the stick and to be able to just correct that without even gripping and worrying too hard. Alright, so what we'll do is we'll test the autopilot out here for a moment. So let's check the where's my altitude here. So 8,100. So I'm going to do AP on nav, flight director on, and we're going to go vertical speed. Okay, so it's going to get us back on the track again, my little GPS track that I had there. This will give us a great chance for me to jump outside, and we can inspect the outside of the model while it's on. Let's go out and do that now. So catching it with a beautiful bit of sun glinting off the fuselage there as it enters that turn going through the Austrian Alps here. You really capture, looking at it on the ground is one thing, but looking at it in the air, you really capture those extremely sleek lines of the DA50. The DA42 and the 62, I absolutely love them, I really do, but they are very practical, shall we say? I think they say, especially with the way their engine mounts are designed, they're very, very practical and part of me wants to say brutish. It's not the right word, but at the same time it kind of is. Whereas the DA50 is designed, it just feels clean. Like, it just looks clean, it feels clean, and just runs absolutely beautifully. Like, look how sleek this aircraft looks. It still shares that sort of, somewhat bulky, somewhat, rough sort of engine mount, sort of engine cowling design that we see on the DA20 and we see on the DA40 and 42 and 62 with their engine pods. But somehow this one just looks cleaner and just looks sleeker. And, with the retractable gear, it just looks like it wants to go somewhere pretty damn fast. Overall, yeah, this is looking really, really good, and as I said, we saw before on the ground, and we're getting a better example of it here in the air. The textures have done, the team have done a really good job with the textures, and overall looking like a really good The team have done a great job bringing this aircraft to life, I think. All right, well, let's continue our beautiful, relaxing flight through Austria, the Austrian Alps here, and we'll cut back to this video as we come in for our approach to land into St. Johann. Before we come in for that landing, though, let's just take a bit of time to check out the maneuverability of this aircraft, because one of the things that's important with GAs is just how they handle, because you notice that feeling a lot more than you do perhaps, say, with airliners. So one of the things I generally try and do with GA aircraft is we'll try and do a steep turn with this aircraft and see how she behaves. So got our altitude here, we're looking at 9760, 9780, so bit of turbulence over here through the Alps here, so probably not the best area to do the test with, but let's give it a go. So looking at about, let's call it 9740 at the start of this trip out. Alright, we'll lean into a turn. A little bit of back pressure there. Dropping a little bit of altitude, that's definitely more pilot error, but very stable in the turn. A little bit of back pressure, raise that nose a little bit, bit of correction there, but given the turbulence over the Alps here, very, very stable, very, very easy to keep in that steep turn attitude. So definitely feel that they've got that right, and the performance is what I'm expecting to see for, you know, the maneuverability of the aircraft, because the aircraft has this, you know, the very large wings, so it will feel those updrafts because of that glider-like design. So definitely a little bit bumpy, but overall very easy to be able to maintain in that position. Right, so we'll bring us back onto heading. Very easy to bring back, snap back into, so it's not snap back position, but fairly easy to predict back and bring it back into the direction that we want. All right. So now we've got that. So yeah, I'm happy with the flight modeling on that one. I think it feels about what I would expect it to feel like. So I think the team have done pretty well there. Let's see what it looks like in the dark. My lighting is fairly basic in this aircraft. Nothing too huge to write home about. You do have the dimmable instrument panel, which is apparently not that effective, but otherwise you do have a cabin light cabin floodlight to be able to give you that sort of map view to look around the cockpit, but the instrument panel lighting is not a huge amount of difference there. So I don't know whether that's a bug or not, but I'm mostly not going to be flying this aircraft at night very often. I'm going to be mostly flying this aircraft during the day, but that's a bit of an oddity that I've noticed there. But otherwise, it does what it says on the tin, and it looks like what I would expect. Alright, as we're coming in towards our approach here, we are a little on the high side to start our turn onto downwind. So we have to extend out and lose a bit of altitude, I think. The aircraft is surprisingly quick, actually. I think that's something that sort of struck me, and yeah, and looking at like researching about the aircraft as well, like it seems to be like the aircraft offers some great performance. I know I mentioned, sort of went to mention earlier about the engine design. Like, it is fascinating, and I think I may have made a mistake earlier when I was saying that, you know, it's unusual the fact that it uses Jet A1. I do apologise. That was I realised that was actually not quite correct. Like, all of the Diamond aircraft do use Jet A1. But it is sort of, you know, different as opposed to some of the other aircraft in the class that use avgas. But it is a Diamond thing where their aircraft primarily use Jet A1. I'm going to have to just do a couple of circuits before we enter in to our downwind here, just sort of bleeding off some airspeed. And it's funny because a huge amount of lift produced by these wings make that a little bit more challenging than perhaps I'm used to with some aircraft. I have to really try and dirty this aircraft up. Bit of rudder to try and bring us down here. There we go. Pushing my speed. Don't want to get too high. Don't lose too much altitude. Probably banking far too hard than I probably should do. Alright. Throttle position warning there telling me to check my gear. Okay. Turn onto our downwind for landing. Definitely a little bit on the fast side. Now my flap extension, takeoff speed 133 knots. Help start to slow us down a bit further. Gear extension. Gear in transit. There we go. 3 greens. Landing light on. It's one of the challenges of flying into mountains is that it can get a little tight. Some of the maneuvers, being caught between mountains and the like, and definitely in the Alps here, as we sort of saw on climb out and our cruise, even when we were maneuvering, that the weather can also, with the wind rolling off the hills, off the mountainsides, can give you some challenges when flying, that is for sure. Okay. Position, don't want to fly into a mountain. 90 knots. Okay. Turning on to our final. Power back, coming in a little fast. Leading off that speed. Don't want to stall it. Power. It's going to be a little long, this landing, I think. And there we go, down. I think the flight dynamics definitely felt about right on that landing there, just with the performance there. Probably got a bit to do with my lack of familiarity with the aircraft and the fact that I haven't been flying a lot personally lately. But overall, that approach definitely a little steep. Definitely not my best approach, but not too bad. I love the nose wheel steering for a nice tight turn there. All right, let's taxi up and give our final thoughts on this one. Switch over from our landing lights to our taxi lights. And clean the aircraft up, flaps up. And you definitely feel like when the rapid movements of the throttle lever towards the end there, poor airmanship on my part, but it actually went and proved that they've actually coded the FADEC for this aircraft pretty well, because it did exactly what it is supposed to do, and it actually translated that rapid throttle movement into a modified or more appropriate transition of power to the actual engine. So the team have definitely coded the engine control unit exactly as they should have. Done pretty good so far, so definitely can't complain on the handling of the aircraft in the air. All right, let's see if we can park up here on the grass. I mean, we've got a. Should we use the? We should totally use the AI marshaller there. I mean, if they're there, we might as well make use of their services. There we go, lined up. I think. You know what? I'm going to nose it forward a bit further because I want to line up with the rest of the aircraft. There we go. Okay. All right. Let's shut our aircraft down. Now, there's no shutdown checklist, but these aircraft, it's not too hard to shut these ones down. It is very simply, we turn the fuel to fuel cutoff. There we go. All right. Turn our lights off. Check. Alright, pitot heat is off, AV master set to off, and engine master set to off, fuel pump off, and electronic master off. There we go. So it's a fairly simple shutdown procedure, nothing too huge to worry about for that one. Alright, let's get outside and let's give our final thoughts on the Diamond DA50RG. So the Diamond DA50RG from Skyward Simulations. My overall thoughts is that it is a great aircraft. The team have done an absolutely fantastic job modeling a really sporty touring aircraft that is capturing the imagination of many general aviators around the world. It really captures the performance of the aircraft, a very economical to run aircraft, very easy to operate aircraft. It shares the cockpit. You know, the Diamond series of aircraft is a tough series of aircraft for third-party devs to make because they are now. There is very much the benchmark of the Diamond aircraft as the base aircraft in the sim in several versions. So you've got the commonality of cockpit, which they have absolutely nailed. They've got the great avionics in there thanks to working title. They've got the performance expectations that I have. This thing flies pretty much by the numbers from what I can tell from this one. So I think the team has done a great job in terms of that. The model is absolutely fantastic. The liveries are pretty good. The textures are pretty solid. The flight dynamics are pretty much spot on from what I can tell. It gives you that nice little bit of challenge, but still being relatively docile. So the team, as far as I'm concerned, have nailed that pretty well. The lighting probably was the only thing. The interior cabin lighting is probably the only thing that I've really got a negative to say on that one at the moment, just because that didn't seem to function as expected. That, of course, potentially could have been user error, but that was probably the one thing that I noticed. But overall, this thing is looking pretty good. The only sort of slight bugbear that I've really got with this one, and this is a complete, first world virtual aviator problem here, is that I have been absolutely spoiled with various other developers such as Just Flight, with providing the reds and the more, some static animations. Like the animations of the animated doors, everything else internally looks great from the team at Skyward. But the things like, when we hear on the ground, like I don't have the option, at least I couldn't find an option to be able to enable reds. I mean, I'm stretching pretty hard when I say that that's that's the negative for it. But overall, everything for this aircraft makes it a pretty damn good value buy if you enjoy your GA aircraft and you're looking for something sleek and powerful and a little bit and similar but different to the Diamond aircraft that you may already have in your hangar. This is going to be an aircraft for you. So it comes highly recommended from me. As I said, however, this is a pre-release review, folks. So I do want to stress that once again. This is a pre-release review. This will be being released in a few days' time over on Orbix Direct. Make sure that if you're wanting to pick it up, there will be a link in the description down below for you to go and grab your copy. Well, folks, that does round out through this preview review. I do want to say once again a huge shout out and a huge thank you to the team over at Skyward Simulations and the team over at Orbix for providing me with the preview copy of this aircraft. And as always, I want to say thank you very much for watching. Don't forget, as always, to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying these videos and want to see more. And of course, as always, you can catch up with me and all the things I'm up to between videos by finding me on Facebook and on Twitter and on Twitch. Just search NovaWing24. Alright folks, thanks very much for watching. Take care, safe skies to all, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.